Thanks a lot.
The world is full of stories, some hidden, some waiting to be told.
Do you think that the choice of this American as Pope had anything to do with Trump?
I think we have a tendency to want everything to have something to do with Trump today.
Real voices.
So do you see there ever being a Palestinian state? Yes or no?
I am not jumping up and down because of what Canada, UK, and Australia have done, because these are chicken countries when it comes to military might.
Real people.
Overpopulation will kill you, and the rise in the sea level will kill you. So you choose. I think it's time to choose how you're going to die anyway.
So the fact that U.S. foreign policy has done some things that frankly, I'm not proud of in Iran.
Each sharing what connects us all.
There is no life for women, and education closed and banned for all women in Afghanistan.
From London to Lagos, from Prague to Taipei, Around the World with Dane Waters brings together thinkers, dreamers, and doers. Conversations that cross borders, stories that bridge divides. Heard in over 60 countries, these stories travel farther than borders, inspiring hearts, sparking ideas, and reminding us how connected the world truly is. Don't miss Around the World with Dane Waters.
Welcome back to Around the World with Dane Waters. I continue to be your host, Dane Waters. Hey, listen, I'm happy to have with me my next guest, Ejike Okpa. How are you, Ejike?
Thanks. How are you, Dane? Long time.
It has been way too long. Listen, okay, I need to do a mea culpa before we get started. So excuse me while I take a little bit of your time. Listen, believe it or not, I know you're going to find this shocking, but I actually make mistakes on occasion.
We do. We all do.
Last week on the show, I was interviewing a guy, and I tried to make a stupid joke about Frenchmen, and it went awry. Anyway, it rightfully so, 100% rightfully so. It upset the woman in my life that I cared deeply about and loved. So it gave the impression to the world that I was a single man looking for relationships. Well, let me tell the world, I am in a committed relationship. I'm in love, and I'm very lucky. So I'm sorry for being a jerk and being an idiot. So anyway, Ejike, thank you for letting me take the time to apologize. So I appreciate that. So, yeah.
So I always tell people, apology is necessary if he's going to save something, not just an apology. So.
Well, hopefully it saves the relationship because she means the world to me. So we'll see. Yeah, I just have to stop being so stupid. So now let's get on to some important stuff because it has been a while. So I've got a lot to ask you about. Well, first, I think you were listening to the earlier conversation with Gail, and she's was formerly with ICE. And one thing I've always wanted to ask you, you're a native-born Nigerian. How do you feel? In Texas, of all places, do you feel insecure at all or any concerns with ICE and what they're doing in the United States?
No. I came to America legally, and I came to America because I wanted to leave my country of birth, and I came and earned my citizenship, after I got my green card. And so I don't think America needs to apologize for its success. I put it this way: if you come in, every country's at home. If you have to set boundaries, you have to set rules. Even God's love is not unconditional, because we have heaven and we have hell. If you want to go to hell, there's a condition for it. If you want to go to heaven, if you want to go to purgatory, it's all of those stuff. So when people say America needs to do it, if any American wants to throw in their citizenship and go somewhere else, we're not missing them. We don't, I have this phrase: if you claim America, America will claim you. If you don't claim America, America don't even know you've come through here. So that's my take. Yes, are we a perfect nation? Heck no, but we are better than the rest of them out there, because this is one country you can come in, and if you get it right, or if you do it right, you see your success. How many non-Chinese people have gone to China and become millionaires or billionaires, or Russia or India or China? But this is the country you can come and do that. And so from time to time, we're going to challenge our laws. We're going to challenge what is written in our constitution, but we're not going to make it a wrapper. We're going to make it a revolving door. We have to hold ourselves to certain strict rules because it's a test of who really wants to be an American. People came here, they gave up their country of birth, and they came here and they built what we have built. So if anybody's going to come here and say, oh, it's a come one, come all, no. In economics, don't we say a barrier to entry creates value? That's one thing. If you've read economics books, it's going to tell you barrier to entry. So we're going to enhance that barrier to entry so that people don't take us for granted. My dad wouldn't let me leave Nigeria if I didn't show him I have a visa. And when I left, he told me if I came to America and I tarnish the last name Okpa, he's gonna beg America to come here and he's gonna kill me. That I should preserve the goodwill of that last name Okpa. So everybody has a brand. It is how you promote your brand, and your brand is your identity. So she said what she said, and she's entitled to it. But I would never apologize for America. America should never apologize for what it has done for itself. If you want to copy, the question is always, do you have the will to paste? You can copy America, but can you paste it in your own country? I mean, we have Canadians, we have Mexicans. All three of us are the North American continent, but we built the brand around America. So we still call them Canadians and we call them Mexicans.
That's an interesting point. That really is an interesting point. And listen, by the way, your father sounds like an amazing man, and it's interesting. But, once again, I will say this. It's one point you brought out is that when we all die, all we have is a reputation. Really, it doesn't matter how much money we have. It doesn't matter anything else. It's about a reputation and being known as good people. And my son and I, we talk about that all the time. But once again, you're spot on. The other thing I want to say is, listen, I may have disagreements with this administration. There's no doubt about it. But the reality is, America is the greatest country in the world, and it is not easy to govern. It is not. It is not. And so, you see it in Nigeria, you see it in France, you see it in Spain, you see it in Mexico. It is, when you're a country of 365, 380 million people, people are going to be pissed off. People are going to be upset. It just happens. And, all we can do as government officials, all they can do is just do the best they can. So let's talk about.
But let me say one thing here. But if, for instance, people are mad at America having tariff, or even Trump say, okay, I'm going to put tariff on goods coming into America. If China were to say it, how many people would challenge the Chinese president? If India were to say it, how many people would challenge them? If Russia, Putin was to say it, or Nigeria, Tinubu were to say it, who would challenge it? But like you said, we are one country. We don't have your majesty. We don't have your excellency. We just have Mr. President. And we can give him finger. And he will not come after us. You go give Tinubu finger, or Putin finger, or Chinese man finger, and see how much of your fingers are left. So that's what it is about America. We love it, and like I said, I have lived in the same zip code ever since I set my foot in America. I am not going anywhere. I will never return to live in Nigeria. It's my country of birth, but it's not my country of choice. Okay, just like when Jesus chose 12 people, he didn't choose the multitude. He chose 12, and out of that 12, one betrayed him, but he still had to suffer with them. So, if you don't function of choices and preferences, like in economics, they have the scale of preference. It's not a come one, come all. So I have preference. If I date somebody, it doesn't mean I'm discriminating against the other person. This is my preference. America is my preference, and I'm sticking to it.
No, and not to belabor the point, but you're right. I mean, it is about preferences. I mean, once again, we have in America the ability to exercise that preference, that, which we cannot do. Yeah, I can imagine when I was living in Ukraine, if you given the finger to Putin, he would have come to the store and cut it off. There's no doubt about it. Cut me into little pieces. Okay, so let's. There's two quick things that we need to talk about here. We get about 8 minutes. One, I wanted your take on the midterm elections because we're honestly. Listen, I know you're a supporter of the administration. I understand that completely, and you're a hardcore Republican. I respect that. I'm a Republican as well. But honestly, where are these midterm elections going in the U.S.?
Well, the midterm is always the test of any president. If historically, it's come to where the midterm is, the barometer. Okay, is because if Trump doesn't win if the Republicans don't win midterm, then the remaining years of his term is just going to be, he's just going to be getting difficult because the Democrats ain't going to let him do anything. And so, but we are very hopeful. I think there's what we call the silent majority in American politics, and they're watching this stuff. A lot of us are saying, is this the country that we really, really want? Is this a country that we're just going to allow sentiments overrule what we call as our own rules and laws? So people are waiting. I can't wait to vote. Just in Texas, we know the Democrats want Texas. They always come with a purple state. We're gonna make it one Democrat senator, one Republican. But come November, we're gonna show them all red. James Rico is jumping up and down. I was like, dude, it's good you showing up to represent your side, but we're gonna win it. And then Trump is gonna come here in November, I think 7 or 8, for the midterm, midterm convention, and that's gonna be a show of a show. Okay, because when he shows up,
I can't wait to hear about that. That's gonna be interesting. That's the first time ever, right? The first time ever that a sitting president has done a midterm convention for midterm elections.
Because Trump knows how to rally the troops. He knows how to. One thing about him, he may not necessarily like, but when he gets on there, he knows how to energize. And America needs that, kick in the butt, that energize the bunny kind of thing, because we know there are a lot of things at stake, and if he doesn't get it, come January, it's a clown show. It's just going to be a clown show, and the Democrats are going to think now they're going to win, 2028. so we have a whole lot of things at stake, and we're not going to let it slip.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's going to be an interesting election because, well, in many ways, and I'm sure between now and then we'll talk about it more. But now let's go on to, I'm going to talk about the Iran war. It's definitely ups and downs. I mean, I personally don't see an exit strategy that's good for the president. But first, let me get your take. As an American citizen, as somebody in Texas, what's your take on what's going on with Iran?
I thought by now Iran would have come to senses and said, hey, Iranians are suffering. Of course, the very few that are on top, like they say in Nigeria, the guy on top, they're still enjoying life, but majority of Iranians are being subjected to what their leadership is exposed them to. But Iran has become an intransigent nation. It has always been for 47 years. It's managed to, wiggle his way with every American president because it's like what the Igbo said, it's like a fly that is perched on your private part. If you let it, it's going to suck you to death. If you hit it, you're going to hit yourself. So that's what we got with Iran. How do you deal with it? But I think now, the positive, the fight again to see whether they'll come to terms. But the thing is that the neighboring countries to Iran, especially the rich ones, have allowed this neighbor to be a nuisance to them. They should have been the one taking on Iran. What is it that Iran has? They say they are Persians, they're dynasty, or they've been around for whatever length of time they've done it. It doesn't really matter. Like my grandfather used to say to me, and say, the day you saw me is the day I saw you. So our age counts from there, not because you've been around. It's not how long you've been around. How well. The Iranians haven't had the opportunity to live very good life since the supreme leadership thing was introduced in their political culture. So I hate it what is going on there. But again, I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm not afraid that a drone is going to drop a bomb in my neighborhood. It ain't going to happen. But that doesn't mean I'll be sensitive to the hurts and harm that other people have done because their own leadership is lousy. The Iranian leadership is lousy. It doesn't look inwards to look at the suffering of his people. Instead, it wants to wag its finger at America and say, oh, we can stand up to this. It's like a dog, a wounded dog, it's still limping and barking, but it's not biting.
Well, let me you bring up an interesting point I hadn't really thought about is, okay, one of the reasons the United States and Trump has chosen not to engage actively or too actively in the Ukrainian war is because he says it's a European issue. It's a European conflict, and that Europe should deal with it more. It should deal with it. Okay, so that's what he said, justifying why he's not actively involved in Ukraine. So, but you just bring up an interesting point that Iran, it's a regional issue as well. I mean, why is it that America is choosing to, this is, so I'd like your take on this. Why is America choosing to get involved with trying to stop Iran? Because it really is an Israeli issue, a Saudi issue, a Yemen issue, whatever it is. It's a regional issue. So why is it that Trump is choosing to participate in that conflict, but saying that Ukraine is a European issue and we don't need to get involved?
I mean, it's just again, it comes down to choice. And then you look at the amount of the Middle Eastern investment that you have in America. Okay, a lot of their wealth are invested in America, and they're going to come crying and said, hey, at one point, if you look at who was buying more of our F-15s and F-35, it's Bahrain, the UAE. UAE spends a lot of money buying a lot of those things, but that you have the equipment, are you able to use it? It's not just having it as a showroom, furniture, showroom piece, but are you able to train your people? You look at, these people from the wealthy GCC countries, are they able to actually get down and get dirty? This is a dirty thing. The expression, it's a dirty thing, somebody has to do it. Forget your flashy, whatever clothes you wear and stuff. It comes to now somebody hates you, somebody want to kill you. Are you going to defer that defense to somebody? Are you going to rise up to it? There's something you say in Ebola. If somebody comes into your father's compound and throw, a palm strong into you, are you going to run? Are you going to pick up that and fight? The Middle Easterners haven't learned how to fight, and so I'm hoping that with this stuff, they're going to pull back and make it a regional thing. America gets involved when invited, and then America is going to choose a side. We always have chosen a side. It's never, come one, come all, from World War I to World War II. But most people forget it took 106 years before the first American president even left America. Where did they go? They went to Panama. And then America was very reluctant to get into the World War. But when they felt that, hey, they have a role to play because it was Western Europe, and Western Europe was responsible for the Americans, creation of America, they said, okay, fine, we get into it. And we were very decisive. And that it was because of America, German, in all the Western European countries don't have any fighting army. And they said, okay, let's create NATO to give them responsibility. But it has come to where they have allowed their own national security to be handled by America. So Trump is the one that's saying, hey, rise up. Get up and defend yourself. Get up and pay for your own defense. You can't let American soldiers go there and shed their blood. While your own people are out there, you're letting immigrants come into your country and destroy. Everybody has to defend it. The integrity of every nation is how you stand up to people who want to kill you, not when you run away. America didn't run away when we had civil war. We stayed here and killed each other, and then to build the country we have built. We know how to fight. It doesn't mean we're going to win every fight, but we inflict you so much damage that you're probably going to have self-doubt. So, I hope the Ukrainians will say, love thy neighbor, love is proximity. But, in the case of Russia and everybody around it, you see that you submit to be subdued, or you find a way to love them and they love you back. So.
But this is very important. I think it's a very important point to make is that, listen, you talk about the GCC, you talk about Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, even Israel. These are extremely wealthy countries. They can pay for their own defense, and they have the weapons. I know here at the Farnham Air Show here in the UK, they just had the UAE performing jets. So they know how to fly, they know how to fight, they need to fight. And versus us getting involved in that conflict, to me, it is a regional conflict and needs to be resolved. Listen, Ejike, sadly, we're out of time, but I got 30 seconds. Tell me real quick, I want to hear your thought about this. What is the greatest challenge America's facing right now, and how do we address it? You got like 30 seconds.
Well, it's just the internal strife, the internal distrust, and it's not that Trump is right or perfectly wrong. It is just that the Obama factor, that came in, and then you have the Biden factor that and Clinton. Clinton has a little kind of gotten quiet, but it's just America has to apologize for success. America has to be a country that is so bad and so sinful, and so many people have bought into it. And I don't agree with it. If you don't like America, please exercise the next choice. I think Americans have to come to their senses that the world don't really like us because you're successful. We're successful. We say we're number one. Nobody has ever showed up to say we're number two. So they always want to do something to America. It's not new. But again, I want to say the Igbo things, when you're surrounded by enemies, you go to sleep with one eye open, so, so that's why we do it all the time. And it's not easy, but I love to live here. I tested it in Nigeria. I came from a political family, and I was 13 years old when I mentally migrated from Nigeria before I physically left. Because I figured out it's not going to be good for my nature. I'm territorial. I defend my territory, and so in Nigeria it's a communal thing. Let all get along to go along, even when we don't agree with what we're going along for. So I think the thing is, Americans are coming to senses, recognizing that the rest of the world don't really care for us. They want us to fall. But again, the thing is, if America falls, what are the choices? Are we all going to go to Mexico? Are we all going to go to Canada? Are we all going to go to England? Where do we go? So God has given the world the best country in the world, and that's America. Because you know what? My son is a Marine officer, you know that. If there's a war between Nigeria and America, guess what? He's going to be shooting against Nigeria regardless. Just like you have Chinese who are in the American military, no other military in the world has the content of America. Because everybody has come from everywhere. And the spirit of America is not physical. It's just that spirit that we manifest destiny, Monroe Doctrine, the military, the might. Those M factors is what has given America the footing it has in the world. No other country has it. The M factors.
Yeah, now listen, it's spot on. You're exactly right. Listen, Ejike, it's always a great honor. Sorry it's been so long. We'll be back on again soon. But listen, you're an inspiration. You really are. I love your comments and your thoughts about all these great little idioms that you have. It really is good. But thanks a lot for being on the show. And
thank you. And I'm looking forward to the book.
Well, thank you. I will get you the books. I will. Anyway, thanks for being with Dane Waters, Around the World with Dane Waters. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
What we've always maintained is in the never Trump movement. I'll break it down a bit. Nigeria, Lagos has become one of the largest exporters of Brazilian ivory in the world.
Of the third world nation, where your votes will get stolen if you can